Welcome to the Achieve Success Podcast. I'm your host, Nathaniel F. Holmes. Each week, I feature ordinary people who have accomplished great things. Tune in to get inspired and receive tips that'll help you reach your goals in business and life as you strive to become the best version of yourself and achieve success.
It's just amazing to me everything that you have been doing over the last few years. So I remember when you were having classes at Bethesda, right?
Yeah, I'm still there.
You still there?
Well, now I'm not, of course, but
Right.
I've been there since 2011.
Uh-huh.
Still there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we would play basketball on Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursday nights. We would play basketball. So we'd have to wait on Thursday nights for y'all to finish up.
Yep. We ended up going over there on Tuesdays too. So then we wait on them. They wait on us to finish up. Yeah. So you've seen everything. You know, that is so crazy because not too many people know me from all those like Central,
Right.
Golds,
Right.
and then the Zumba world. Because I separate Bethesda defines the Zumba world.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just awesome. So that's for me is the reason why I wanted you to come on, is because I've seen the different stages and the growth that you have had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I feel like you went kind of like from like a smaller group or maybe not as many opportunities to now like you're worldwide. Like my girl is traveling worldwide to do Zumba, and it's just like it's awesome. And I feel kind of like it's like I feel like I know a celebrity kind of
Yeah. Well, right now they're all coming to the living room.
Yes.
And honestly, I am so grateful because the airports,
Mm.
traveling and getting up at 4 a.m. is overrated.
Is it?
I mean, I enjoy once I get there because actually when I go all these different places, I've developed relationships with these people. So like I like to go to the same places and use the same host and kind of do all, kind of have a routine. So there's people that I've been visiting them and staying with them or being around them for like 7, 8 years now because I've been doing this for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So you develop like you're really like it crossed the line of just them hosting you to like they are looking setting up their schedule so when you come in town they're off work and then we traveling and doing things. We're having cookouts and all that. That's like what happens when I go to some of these places now. So I will always miss that.
Right.
But then when you have to look at some of the things that you have to deal with to travel all the time. I mean, I'm so used to it now, but now in the living room, last week I had to write down all the different countries everybody was from. It was crazy.
So how has this transition been for you from, you being at a location, on location and having people come in to now, you're in the comfort of your studio and everyone is coming to you. How has that transition been for you?
It's been a blessing. I'm not even gonna lie. I can't even, the stuff that anybody would complain about or that I would have complaints about are so minor to compare to the opportunity I have, which is an opportunity that this position would have never afforded us. They would have never done this virtually.
Right.
Never. And it took for the good thing, and I always try to look at the positive thing because we are in a pandemic, so it's not a bright and happy period.
Right.
But to look at what this has allowed us to do, forced people who were distracted so easily, who had 1,000 things to do in their schedule, who activities for it, like the biggest barrier for my people, as far as my people meaning people who like to work out, people who were paying me to work out, was time.
Right.
And now It's the biggest commodity. I'm like, okay, so they have the time.
Right.
They're still looking for excuses. Some of them, but it's harder to make those same excuses that they made before with everything being virtual. The one thing that I did, which was really kind of out of the box, out of the normal for me, I really kind of shy away from learning new stuff sometimes. I'm when you say Capricorn, I'm such a routine person. I like routine, eat the same food. I like certain things to be a routine.
Right.
And when I came back from New Orleans, which was a hot spot for it, I was in New Orleans right when the bottom dropped out. I got back on a Monday. I was in a meeting saying that everything that I'm doing with the Zumba choreography, the trainings and all that, is going online, and if I wanted to be in the test meeting. And I was like, sure. That meeting was a Monday. I didn't realize that I would have to do all my classes virtually. So I tried having class Tuesday with just 10 people, like social distancing, because that was the first time I'd ever heard that. So I posted something about it. Now it would be so inappropriate. But I was like, put people spread out. I'm like, don't, stand in these spots. And the gym is so big. Right. And I was like, you still come to class, but we're going to limit the amount of people and all of that. That was the first week. By the end of that week, by that Thursday, actually, I was like, no, this is going to have to be virtual. I mean, by the next class, the very next class. So then I tried to keep it going over at Bethesda, but they don't have Wi-Fi.
Right.
And with virtual world, you got to have Wi-Fi. So that is your lifeline. So the very next week I was able to transition here. My class numbers are doubled.
Wow.
Even more than doubled, some of them. Wow. Some of them are tripled.
Right.
And I'm able to have people, because I do all the traveling and people know me for so many years, they've never been able to take a class. Even when I go, I do trainings, and sometimes I'm not doing a regular class. So sometimes I am, but more times I'm not. So they rarely get the chance to actually be in a regular class with you. But it just opens it up to anybody, for anybody in the world. I have a guy in my Saturday class from New Zealand. I have Australia. I have Vienna. I have Kenya. Wow. All this in my Trinidad. All of them. My Saturday class has the most diverse people, grouping of people. But it took, when I say something that wasn't really what I normally do, because I said routine, I'm always like the one who, when it says you have to change right now, I'm usually like, come on, I got a 6 right now. I don't like to change. I was telling somebody I bought CDs late. I bought everything late because I just didn't want to change. I'll get a car, I keep it for a long time. I had to change my whole model of how I teach classes. I had to change my whole teaching style. I can't even wear black pants because they're like, oh, you wear dark pants, we can't see. I had to change my whole living room. I had lights everywhere. I had to change a lot in that short period of time to accommodate the classes. And Ethernet, you have to have Ethernet. You're doing all of this stuff online, Right. Audio. I use a microphone, not for all my classes, but for my trainings, because they're 3 hours long. So, wow. And you're teaching and engaging and dancing and trying to make this a connection. Right. And it's a lot of people. So, you have to really be creative. So what I've done is, instead of my class being like it normally was, where I would have a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday class, I normally would teach a fitness class because I rent Bethesda only on those days. So, and I get 2 hours. So I would have a fit camp class before. So it would be 2 classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right. But those fit camp people normally would stay and take Zumba. And there was a few that just would come to that class. So I've had to separate those classes. So now I'm 6 days a week because I do a free jump rope class on Fridays. Whereas before I was doing 3 days a week. Wow. The two back to back, I just separated those classes and made it every day. So the fitness-based classes are on the opposite days as the dance fitness classes. Right. So that whole thing had to change, that whole model. And learning Zoom. I mean, when I say I got off the plane, as soon as I decided on Zoom, it was that first meeting on Monday. I tried to learn everything about Zoom. Like I was watching I've watched so many tutorials.
Yeah.
And I now have been doing Facebook Live trainings to help other people in the community, because my whole thing is, if I'm the only one who knows, then that's really not going to do much for our new normal. Right. Like I was like, everybody needs to be teaching these classes. Now, even if because that doesn't mean just because I'm the only one that know how to do it, that all the people are going to come to me.
Right.
I need a community of people so that if they ever want to come, or if they know if people can look at Raleigh, Durham, our area, and say they've transitioned well into online classes.
Right.
And virtual classes, and doing a lot of things virtually. You know, it just doesn't stop with classes, because now people are getting used to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so exciting to hear you talking about it, because like in my mind, right, I'm thinking that, well, when this thing kind of hit initially, you know, of course there's apprehension and there's uncertainty. And then it occurred to me that this situation is for some people to make the cream rise to the top, right? And it will show some people that they are missing some opportunities, because they previously would not have even considered, like you said, doing something like this virtually in terms of the fitness industry. But now, so you're the second fitness professional that I've had on. But now I keep thinking about this, and I'm so excited for your industry, because now you just multiplied exponentially your offerings, because you went from now being confined to, I can only house X number of people in this space for this time, to now you can have an infinite amount of people that can attend. In theory, infinite. I mean, of course, the platforms limit to either 100 or 500 or whatever the number is. Right. But still, that's probably more than you normally would have been able to have. Now, for a couple of reasons. One, not just numbers, but geographically. Now, before, where you were at a location and someone maybe would not have driven 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour to come, now you have people coming from across the continent in different time zones that are coming.
It changed. That you still have to get used to, because it's like you're normally, case in point, there are 9 of us that do what I do, and 8 of us in North Carolina that do what I do. It was very saturated. Now that it doesn't even matter that it's 8, because we can all post a jam session at the same time, because it's out there for the whole world to see. And Zumba has over 1 million instructors, I want to say, and they have it in over 138 countries, or maybe 300. Maybe that number has definitely gone up. I'll have to check, because I know 138 is something. But the amount of people that we just had a meeting, and she said by the end of May we will have 10,000 people that have attended jam sessions.
Wow.
10,000 people.
Wow.
That's crazy. So all of our sessions are selling out. Like, I'll take somebody's name out, and I'm trying to do something administrative wise, and I look, and if somebody bought the session.
It's filled already.
It's fast. And so I haven't promoted 2 of them, because I'm trying to post them for Europe. So I chose a 9 a.m. time. So I intentionally didn't promote it in the US, because people would get up at 9 a.m. and do it, you know? And they're just out there, especially now, because people need a sense of normalcy and something positive and fun to do. And that's what we do in these sessions. I mean, you're dancing and you're learning. Some of them don't even teach. But, you know, right now they're not teaching, and some of them are. But, you know, it's just crazy how that is not even a thought now. Where you live, like you said, geographically, geographic barrier isn't a barrier anymore.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah. So how did you choose your career? How did
goodness.
Yeah, how did you
oh my goodness,
this is what I want to do.
It's too really quick. The quick way is, my mom always told me, because I thought I was going to be an attorney. Like you couldn't tell me. I decided at 10 that I was going to be an attorney. I decided when I dropped my brother off at NCCU, I found out they had a law school. I was like, oh, that makes it so much easier. I can just go right here. You know, very limited. Like I told you, I was like a very like, I'm going to plan it, I'm going to do it type of person. And after graduating from school, my last semester, I had a class, and in that class was a guy who was a trainer at Gold's Gym. And meaning the trainer, basically, he got a free membership to clean help people and clean equipment. And I remember I was losing weight at the time. So I announced, it was a business class, and I made a speech. And he heard my speech, and he was like, oh, maybe I can get you a job as an assistant at the gym. Because he found out how I managed to do the same thing at another gym for a free membership. I went in and asked could I clean the machines? Can I do anything? I don't have any money. This was a gym that didn't have that program, and they let me do it. So he heard that and was like, oh, you can come do that at Gold's. Started working at Gold's. Long story short, I didn't get into law school when I applied the first time. Well, I didn't apply again after that. So I had to work.
You had to do something.
I was working at the hotel, and I was working at the mall, and then I found a job at GTE, and I was actually became his roommate. Like he was looking for a roommate, and he was like an older guy. So, and I was like, I think I was maybe like 21, right out of school, 21, 22. And he was more like a big brother type of person or whatever.
Right.
But he was the connection for the gym.
Right.
So I got the job at the gym doing the cleaning and all of that. And I remember my mom saying, and the thing that was the defining point was I was at work and I had a tooth removed. And this was when I was still in the apartment with my roommate or whatever. And I remember I went to work. I didn't go to work that day, but I went to the gym. So I was like, you know what? If this is something that I really, really, if you really, something that my mom always told me, if it's something that you really, really love to do, that's what you need to do for a living. And I thought I knew law, but I was just 10 years old making a decision. Now, there's a lot of things that I probably could have gone in that direction and been successful, but my heart spoke, and I wanted to help people. I was always a teacher, and no wonder I ended up being a professor at Central, but I was always a teacher. I always wanted to help people, always. So that was always something that I knew would happen. And then at the same time, right before that, what drove me to actual exercising, which is totally different from my career, is my dad having diabetes. So that was in 95, which is why I started exercising, which is why I was able to have that story to tell in class.
Right.
Which is why I was able to meet him, and it kind of spiraled from there. And I just kept going. No matter what I did in my life, I always made sure I exercised, and I was consistent. And I was always helping other people. So that came in the form of teaching a group exercise classes, and so forth. And then I wanted to go back to Central because I wanted to be a trainer. Right. And I was like, well, my degree is in English. What I have to go back for 1,000 years to do, So I got into rec management because I had to do a year of classes instead of going back and doing another degree.
Gotcha.
And the and men put me in the right field because management, there's a way you can just grow. Right. And management that you can't grow with just having that skill as far as knowing how to train people and so forth. I could do that, but that's kind of how it started. I just got into and I worked right at Gold's Gym, went to grad school. Yeah. But everything is connected because if it weren't for those classes I taught, took those PE classes my senior year, that's how I got a job as a fitness director because my racquetball coach hired me as a graduate intern. Gotcha. So I became.
Who was that at the time?
That was Coach Vaughn. He was the director. So when he retired, I became the director.
Gotcha. Okay.
At NCCU for campus rec. So I was campus rec director from like 2000 and director from 2000. 2009 to 2014. I taught in the PE department from 2002. And when I graduated in 2002, I came back that August.
Right.
And taught in the PE department from 2002 to 2009.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So it all was like but it all stemmed from what I did as a passion, and I knew that I was going in the right direction, and I knew that I could be successful if I followed what it was that my heart really told me I should be doing.
Right. And Steve Harvey talks about that in his book, how to be a success, or what's the title of the book? Not the I think is Think Like a Success or something like that. But he talks about how when he was in college, he was always funny, right? And even though he was in college, it got to a point where he was just so disinterested, didn't want to be there, and he actually left. But it was his love and his passion for making people laugh and being funny, and he ended up sticking to that and making a career of it. So like you say, how important it was for you that you had exercise and you really enjoyed it, and you wanted to make that your career. Steve Harvey says the same thing, that's one of the keys to success. You find your gift, you find the thing that you're good at, the thing that you love, and then you find a way for that to be the vehicle for you to achieve success. And if you do that, like to say, if you do something that you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yep, and that is key. And my mom always complained about her job. I remember her, she used to sit us down and say, make sure you do well in school. You do not want to do what I do. And she was a cashier at a drugstore for years, and an assistant manager and all of that. Always complained every day coming home. And I just remember those stories. And I remember her saying that specifically. You need to do well in school because you don't want to be in a position where you don't like your job or you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of where, that's where it started. And I've been doing that. I've owned a fitness center once and all between, but I've always done everything on top of the other. Like I've always tried to, my goal is to, instead of going from one thing to the next, because I always give advice to people when I see them doing so many different things, and it's good that they're great at different things. Mm-hmm. But what would be even greater is if they could figure out how to combine and how to intertwine or bring those worlds together so that it makes them work less than having to be put this hat on, take this off, be this.
Right.
I think what I've done, if I can say what I've done, I feel like I've done well, is I've been able to, one, keep that image as far as fitness going. For anybody know me, they know that I've been doing this for a long time. But also all of the new things that I had taken interest in, they all feed, or there's some kind of connection into fitness, all of it. So, and I think that's what has been the most rewarding part, because I kind of can escape, but then it always kind of still in the same, but in a different way. Like dance fitness totally took me out of Gold's Gym took me out of the gym, honestly. Like, I remember somebody came to my class, they were like, this is where all the girls are. There ain't no more girls in the gym. They all in here. Like this was when the classes were like 80 deep, 100 deep. Uh-huh. They were like, no wonder all the girls not in the gym between 5 and 9 o'clock anymore. Like, where are they? They all in your class. But it's been, the dance fitness world has really been, I would say, the most rewarding aspect of being in fitness, because I this is the first time, and I used to teach all those other classes, and to this day it still remains true. Fit camp and kickboxing and all of those fitness-based classes, I used to have to run out, especially being a teacher, I used to run out and find them and be like, when they say, I'm going to get water, I know that means they may not be coming back. So I would open the door and watch them, but dance fitness, they would run out and run back in. They didn't want to miss something. Right. And they were doing the same amount of time of exercise, or heart rate's up the same in many ways, but it's just how it makes them feel. Right. How I've been able to reach people with the different genres of music. I do salsa, we do the Latin music. We do everything in a Zumba class. So, so it's kind of like taking a trip around the world, But it's also introduced me to a lot of different people because it's a huge social component that does not exist in a lot of the other fitness. CrossFit is close now because in the yoga communities. But remember, I've been doing fitness for so long, there wasn't those communities.
Right.
I was mainly a lot of times the only Black person or Black instructor. It was just two of us, if there was another one, for many years, doing it in the 90s and then early 90s trying to exercise, or mid 90s. Nobody was really doing anything outside of maybe walking a track.
Right.
No one was running around campus jogging and all of that unless they were on the track team.
Right.
So it's a different environment. You know, Black Girls Run. We got so many different programs as far as African American women are concerned. Men had the sports.
Right.
And so for them to jog and do that, it wasn't kind of odd. But for us, it was definitely difficult. And that was my main market. So trying to motivate and inspire people who, you know, you pick the worst population, you know, to kind of do that for. To make your money. You made it really hard for yourself. Because you really could have went to a predominantly white school and would have been the superstar.
Right.
Much faster. But I decided, because I had an offer to, when I got the job at Central, I had an interview at University of Maryland. But I knew I wanted to be with people who looked like me because I wanted to be a role model or be someone that wasn't there for me, you know, when it came to this. And I knew how hard it is for me. So I could imagine how hard it is for the young people, especially with no PE classes. And so I was a fitness instructor at Central for years. And most of the time they would say, I didn't even know. First of all, I never had a lady PE teacher that actually did the workout with us.
Right. Right.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, we're coming from rural North Carolina. I mean, most of the in-state schools, you know, 80% are from the counties in North Carolina. So, you know, that was true because I didn't even have a lady PE teacher.
Yeah.
You know, so just being that for other people or for other Black women or just people. Now it doesn't even, now I'm for everybody, male, female, whatever race. But it was important for me then at that time to really reach and inspire that group specifically. Yeah.
Now, is there anything, or is there something that you do? You know, you said you're a Capricorn, so you know, you like routine, you like structure. So what does your success routine look like? Like, what does your daily routine look like to ensure that you're meeting the goals that you have set for yourself and getting the things done that you need to get done?
Well, I get up early in the morning. I make sure I get up early in the morning, and I do have a lot because of what I do. I am on my phone a lot as far as answering emails, messages, and people from all over. So I may see something in the middle of the night or whatever, or a message or something like that. But the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I try to answer emails, messages, you know, get on the Facebook, because even just scrolling Facebook, you have to respond. Like, for instance, people don't understand how, like, social media for me is how I engage people, my clients, because if they say, oh, I had a great class, you were awesome, or I'm tagged in something, oh, I taught your song, or it could be 20 different notifications between 8 p.m. and 10 a.m. the next day. So I can't leave them cold, meaning no response. Right. You know, and I have to check Instagram. I have to check to make sure they haven't said anything on Facebook. I haven't been tagged anything. So that's kind of how it is in social media. So I'm on social media. I'm posting information. I like to post it early in the morning for Facebook. But now it doesn't matter. But there were certain times I would like to post where, you know, your posts would get read. And usually early in the morning between like 8 and 9. And then at night between like 8 and 10. Right. But then Instagram, I could post anytime because that's for anybody all over the world. Right. But late at night always is good. I make flyers. I make all my own like flyers and announcements, so I'll work on that. And this is like every day.
Right.
Because there's always the same thing to do for something is coming up on the weekend, especially with trainings. I got to create choreography. So that's always something I have to do. I mean, it's hard to describe my day because even though I say I like structure, it's a very sporadic type of way you have to work. You have to be ready to kind of switch gears, even though that isn't really consistent as to what I just said. I'm not like regimented when it comes to that. I do kind of go from here to here to here to here to here.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine, like you said, because what you do is so social that, especially now with not having, the ability to meet physically, when those opportunities come, when someone tags you on social media, it's important, like you said, don't leave them cold, because we live in a day and time now where that's currency. Like social media is currency. Your following is currency. And if you're not careful to nurture those relationships
Right.
the right way, it really ends up costing you in terms of business.
Yeah, it can. And then, also I do have a lot of friends. Like people like, those aren't your friends. And I'm like, no one can understand the classification of where these people fall, because I do see them beyond, because when I say happy birthday or when they have something going on and I genuinely reach out, it's not because I think they're going to give me some money later. It's really because you formed a bond. You got to think about the number of times we've shared great experiences together.
Right.
Dancing. We may take it, if I go to Atlanta, we may all go out and do something outside of Zumba, go eat. Right. When they have kids, I've seen the kids in strollers, and now I see the kids in school.
Right.
So it's a deeper connection than just them coming to the class. It's easier to make a distinction between my regular students who come to me on a regular basis, because I see them drop out off the face of the earth sometimes and never come back. So I have a little bit of more of ability to put up a wall sometimes when it comes to some of them.
Right.
Because they'll come to you for 7 years and the next thing you know, they don't say goodbye, they're gone.
Right. Whereas
some of these people, when I travel into the area, even if they're not doing Zumba anymore, or if they're not doing this, that you still are still connected. If people aren't coming to your class, they kind of shy away.
Right.
They kind of hide away from you. They're not going to stay connected.
They feel like they're letting you down.
Right. So it's different. I know it's on the phone. I know it's social media, but only a few professions can really understand how these types of connections are made, and how, these can be meaningful connections. But yet also it is, when you're looking at this is what you do for a living, you become great at it. So it does get turned into money for you in the long run and the short run, when you're looking at that's what you do for a living. So yeah.
Absolutely. What would you say has been your biggest challenge to getting to where you are now, to the level of success that you've achieved?
Biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is trying to do it all on my own, needing help.
Yeah.
And it's weird because so many people have said, you need an assistant, you need an assistant, you need an assistant, you need an assistant. I mean, I've heard that for years.
Yeah.
And even when I was at Central, where I had access to students or whatever, it's just, I had so many different moving parts at the same time that it was almost hard to sit there and explain to someone how to do. I would have people help me with this, but they didn't really understand the whole
picture.
And that's hard because I have the Caribbean band. We haven't even talked about that, but that's a whole nother thing.
That's a Unity Mass?
Yep, Unity Mass. I have that, and I have the traveling, the jam, doing the sessions all over, and I did 38 a year. There's only 52 weekends. And you can't even count holidays because I don't do them on holidays. So that tells you how many times I'm gone on the weekend.
Right.
Then you count the classes, which I confine to Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, but some Saturdays, I had to get someone to sub for me. and then that has to operate in a certain way.
Right.
And you have all of these different things rolling around, and it would take somebody almost living with you and being around you all the time to know how to respond, especially with your social media. I tried those services where they have somebody post messages to get followers and all that. Right. It wasn't even posting for followers. It was they were actually operating your social media for you.
Right.
But they would put these generic messages, and that could work for certain businesses, but for me, they were sending people that I knew generic messages, and they were inboxing me like, "Are you okay?" Like, do you asking somebody who is another trainer that does what I do in like another country, like, do you work out? Like, I mean, they're trying to engage people. Like, I don't know if they were using bots or whatever, but
yeah,
that didn't work out. I was like, see, it's such a personal thing. They're gonna ask you something personal. What time is your class? It's harder if they ask you something about a move in a song or something like that. It's very hard for someone
else to be able to explain that.
It's hard, and I need it though. I need to figure it out. I just today, and I said maybe this is a sign from God. I don't know. I had a student from A&T call me. Her mom takes my class, and she needs, starting May 18th, she needs 200 hours to graduate because now nobody has a face-to-face facility for her to do her hours. So they're going to approve her to do it virtually.
A virtual internship?
Yep, with me. And I'm like, girl, where you come from? Like, maybe this is an opportunity to kind of figure out how I could use her.
Right.
Because I'm still trying to figure out, I got the Zoom stuff working. I got the people in the classes. I have all of that. But, it's still, this is just the beginning of it.
Yeah.
I think it's so much more opportunity. Like you said, I've been wanting to do a teen program for years. I did one back in 2008. Yeah. It could have been 2000. It was 2008. And so I wanted to do a program for teen girls to get them starting in fitness early, like, so that they can be introduced earlier, not just PE, because that's totally different from fitness.
Right.
Well, it's not totally different, but it can be totally different from fitness, doing it as a lifestyle. So this is what I wanted to do. And now, I mean,
well, now you got an intern now that you can put on that project.
I got an intern, and the fact that I have kids that this is their world.
Right.
Like, they don't really like looking at each other face to face, but they would rather do this, and they can't drive.
Right.
So they can't meet me at a gym. Like, I was thinking, how would I do this? I'm going to deal with parents, bringing them, and it's just going to be so crazy. But I was just like, I would have never thought to do it. And it's right here this has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But we weren't in that realm of thinking.
Nope.
The opportunities, like you were saying, opportunities. So, and I was telling people, if you're not doing it now, when everybody has time, when you have a captured audience, then how do you expect it to be successful when everybody's going back outside?
Right.
You need to plant those seeds now, make it work now.
Yeah.
So that they see it as a viable option whenever we open back up. People are really going to still want to do classes in their home. It's convenient. They've already lost weight. They're doing it. It's fun. They figured it out. Yeah. They got the good Wi-Fi.
And then if nothing else, even if people don't want to do it, I keep thinking about the fact that now, and there may be certain rules and guidelines in terms of Zumba and the organization and what you guys can and cannot do, but now you can maybe simulcast a workout or a jam session or something where you have the physical location, you're there, but now you can also put it on a video platform, so virtually at the same time.
That's
where my mind keeps going to multiply.
That's exactly what we just said in the meeting. She just said to be able to do both, do it in person and also have people who want to be in that session away from, away from home. So it definitely has to deal with the space and whether you have the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But people, I think I think people think that everybody's going to run outside. Some people are still going to be very skeptical to do sociable things that involve breathing and touching, because they can't exercise in a mask. And if masks going to be the new normal, we really need to think about how we're going to be in a social setting, especially group X. The one area that's really affected is if I let one person come in at a time, that don't make sense.
Right.
A hairdresser could do one person at a time because they can't really do but one head at a time.
Exactly.
So feasibly that works, but a group X instructor can't do one person at a time.
Right.
Classrooms going online, that's nothing new. That's a transition that could probably happen, and it's gonna, although it's gonna affect a lot about the way certain universities or schools operate. They still can have a job, but for me, people being in a room, they may not want to be in a room with each other. Even when it's time for us to go back, that might be the one thing that they say, well, going to the grocery store is one thing, but breathing in a room with all these women is probably not what I'm going to do.
Right.
So you have to look at alternatives and ways that you can offer it this as a continued service or option, and then still maybe have your in-person class too.
Yeah, you guys will be able to do it, and I just keep thinking how exciting it is, or I know how excited I would be if it were me in that situation. I'm a little bit of a nerd and geek, and I like technology, so all this virtual stuff, like even this podcast, like literally, it kind of came out of the fact that my 8-year-old had to take classes using Zoom, right? So she came in the room one day. She's like, Mom, it's almost 10 o'clock and I have a Zoom at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, what? A Zoom at 10 o'clock? And then now it's almost like it's the new normal. But then now, you start seeing everyone use it. And I'm like, man, this really has so many possibilities. So for this whole podcast thing, this isn't like the normal quote unquote podcast, right? Because typically a podcast is just audio. Yeah. But I said it would be great if not only audio, but we can make video available to people who are listening. So I said, Zoom has recording. Let me try that. I didn't know how it was going to look. I didn't know how it was going to work, but I said, let's try it. And when I tell you, it really just shows that, if you have like an open mindset or a mindset to find solutions, then there will always be a marketplace for you. And Zoom is a perfect example. They had a mind for this thing, and they now have a marketplace where,
they didn't see us coming, man.
I'm telling you, and it is phenomenal.
This opened up, and I've seen them do so many updates. But you can definitely tell that if they don't do the changes or make the changes, somebody's gonna come and be the platform. Right. So they're probably, I can imagine that they're making all necessary changes to do with music, because this is still some things that are very complicated, because this is a meeting platform, especially for music, for what I do.
Right.
Like I said, there's so many tutorials, but most of the tutorials are about the meeting aspect of it, not. So you have to really dig to find that. But yeah, the podcast, that's a great idea. I mean, this has already been there, but I think it's just, we really operate, in different worlds. Like we see somebody do something to be successful, and then we tend to kind of follow that mold, because we assume that's just the way it is, until someone else decides to do something. And I think with this pandemic, it's just forced. I told everybody, you can just do a clean slate and just become who you want, do what you want, explore those things that you really wanted to do, because everybody has, not to say life has been turned upside down, but inside out.
Yeah.
It's probably a better way to say
it. Reset. It's a good hit the reset button, and it, again, someone may look at it and say, woe is me, or this is horrible, but really and truly find the opportunity within this. and this is a huge opportunity. You know, so what would you say has been your greatest accomplishment? If there was one thing you could say, you know, like this is the thing I am most proud of, what would you say has been your greatest accomplishment?
I think inspiring people. That's probably been my biggest accomplishment. I can really, there's many people that will say it, but there's so many people that will be like, you know, I've been watching you for years and, you know, I'm doing this, or you inspired me to do that, or, you know, that just to hear that lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. And I don't even need to hear that to know that, but I feel like people are rooting for me, and I feel like I'm a leader, and I feel like I have influence on people. So if I try to make sure that I don't do certain things a certain way, because I know if I do it, it's like, oh, you know, certain things. But people know I'm human as well. Right. But because I know I hold that role, so sometimes it comes with a lot, you know.
A lot of responsibility.
A lot of responsibility. And I think that, but what I think I'm the most proud of, what I can feel good about is that I inspire people. Yeah. And I do it from the heart. Like what I do for people, I don't really look at what I get out of it. I just, for some reason, just really thoroughly enjoy helping other people, especially take care of themselves. Yeah. And that is key. Not only, it definitely is relevant for right now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
But just quality of life. And even if you're not going to be here for another week, you want to make sure that the week that you have was enjoyable. Because you only have that time once. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I think that's what will be my biggest accomplishment.
Cool. So one of the things that I feel kind of strongly about is as we move along our journey to success, as we move along our journey to achieve our goals, something happens to us as individuals, and we tend to become the best version of ourselves. Mm-hmm. How has this journey helped you to become the best version of yourself?
Definitely patience. I used to not have patience, and now I really do have patience with people. Like people ask you a question about, I was like, oh, there you go. You know, over the years, I used to always keep the friend circle small, but that just exploded. Like the idea that you could have a friend that doesn't fit into this category of what we consider friends, and you can have you know, it was always like, don't trust people, because I grew up in the inner city, so trusting is still a work in progress for me. But it's tested daily with what I do, because it's like you definitely can't have the wall up, but my natural instincts is that keeping that distance,
right?
But I think that has tested, that has been that's been something that's been really tested, and I've been able to kind of deal with that
right
head on, and that interpersonal skill. So I think it's really helped me with the interpersonal skills, because I'm really like, kind of like, if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an honest answer, right. But I kind of also have to understand how to make sure that people understand what's in here when I'm saying it. Right. Because sometimes when I say in here, in my heart, so I kind of sometimes have to understand that when dealing with people, because people can take things the wrong way, you know, especially when you're dealing with people all over the country. You don't know what you're saying can mean in another country too. Yeah. And certain actions you do. So, you know, you kind of have to be careful with that, but I think that would be how I would answer that question.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Erica. It's been a pleasure. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our podcast. Make sure to connect with us on all of our platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can also listen to the podcast on anchor.fm. Best of all, make sure to check out the website at achievesuccesspodcast.com.